Hello everyone and welcome to today's IFA Product Spotlight. Maya here, the editor of the IFA. So joining me today is Steven Bennett, the CEO of the direct property business with Charter Hall. Welcome Steven, how are you doing?
Terrific, it's great to be here.
Great to have you here. So today Steven and I are going to be talking about the importance of a well-diversified portfolio, something that has become very obvious over the past 18 months of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Steven, looking at a diversified portfolio, property, or in particular commercial property, has played a massive role in some of those more successful portfolios. Tell me, what is it that distinguishes commercial property from residential property?
Yeah, look, the first thing I would say is the level of income. So we've got a number of open funds, a couple of office funds, industrial logistics, diversified funds, all are paying a 5 to 6% income yield. If you were looking at residential property, you're lucky to get 1 or 2%, and in many cases it's called negative gearing because you're actually losing money on an annual basis. So that's the first thing I would say. The other thing I would add is that the reason why commercial property has been so beneficial to clients' portfolios is because it's quite lowly correlated to some of the other major classes of investments. And has significantly less volatility. So in March last year and April, when we saw the equity stock markets, not just here but overseas, drop, unlisted commercial property just kept doing this. And in fact, across our suite of open funds, we had capital appreciation in every single fund since the pandemic's begun.
So obviously over the past 18 months, investors have had some reservations towards commercial property, particularly because of that office sector, because as we sort of transitioned to working from home, we left these massive office buildings empty. Tell me a little bit about, obviously commercial property is made up of a lot of asset classes, but how do those sort of differ between maybe the offices and the industrial sector?
Yeah, look, I'll start at the office sector. We very much believe that the prime end, so the highest quality office assets, the ones that are close to public transport, they have great natural light, close to clients, public transport, they will continue to perform strongly. What we do believe, though, is the pandemic will shine a light on the secondary, so lower quality stock, and we expect that that part of the office market will have more difficulty attracting tenants. We play at the high quality end of our two office funds. One did a 15% return the last 12 months. The other did over 12%. So they've continued to perform strongly. If we then move through to the industrial and logistics market, some of the trends that have been turbocharged, so weren't created by the pandemic, e-commerce, more resilience in supply chains, governments moving manufacturing back onshore, they're driving the tenant demand for industrial and logistics. And that means there's more investor demand. So that sector has continued to perform extremely strongly as well.
And looking at commercial property overall, what are some of the more common advantages and then also risks?
Yeah, look, I'm glad you asked about risks because every investment has them. The risks, let's cover that off first. Make sure that the fund you're looking at doesn't have too high a gearing. We believe at Charter Hall gearing levels of 30 to 40% are the appropriate place to play. We want income security as well. So look at how long the lease terms are, who's paying the rent on the leases, and what's the occupancy level. So there are two things we'd also say. Look at the manager. So this can be a real advantage if you pick the right manager. We're sitting here in North Sydney now doing this discussion, but we've got assets in all the major markets throughout the country. And it's impossible for me to sit here thinking I can manage those as well as people on the ground. So make sure the manager has the depth of the staff, people on the ground located where the assets are. And finally, I know past performance isn't an indicator, but do look at have they continued to deliver on their investment thematics over a long period of time? Have the returns been at the level that they've suggested in their offer documents as well?
So the tenant profile is also something that's very important.
Yes, absolutely. Those long-term leases aren't of much value if your tenants can't go through an economic downturn or a pandemic, for example. And we have government tenants, whether it's state, federal, Coles, Woolworths, Bunnings. These are the tenants that we like because they have great balance sheets, great businesses, and they'll also take very long-term leases.
Now, as part of a balanced portfolio, financial advisors are looking at that unlisted commercial property. What are they talking to you about, and what are they sort of saying to their clients?
Look, I think there's greater recognition that there's a place in an investor's or a client's portfolio. People need to realise unlisted commercial property is typically illiquid. So the first thing they do is put it into the illiquid part of their client's portfolio. Investment timeframes are around 5 years, but it does give that strong level of income, that 5 to 6%. It doesn't move or isn't as correlated as your equities and bonds, so it does reduce the overall portfolio risk. If liquidity is important, then typically we steer advisors to consider a property securities fund. So it invests same high quality institutional property, but by investing into stocks listed on the stock market. So comes with liquidity, does have more volatility, and we don't think one's better than the other. It really just depends on what the client's trying to achieve.
Some great insights there, Stephen. But if advisors do want to find out more about commercial property or Charter Hall, where do they look?
Yeah, look, we've set up an advisor centre on the Charter Hall website. We've pulled together not just research from Charter Hall, external research. There's information on the products in terms of flyers, interviews, videos like this. We really want to educate people in the sector, and we very much believe that if it is an area that your clients are interested in, there's no better manager than Charter Hall in this space.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Stephen.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great to have you. And thank you to our audience for tuning in.